Yo, what's up, y'all? This is Fat Man Scoop, the undisputed voice of the club, the two-time Grammy Award winner. Let me make this official for you. Fat Man Scoop, Cork McClan, Internets. It's time to go with my dude, Premium Pete. Let's get focused. Let's go. Internets. Let's turn up. One time. Premium Pete.
Come on, everybody get set. Let's go. It's the next episode. It's the Premium Pete Show. News, interviews, all of the info. Listen up. It's the Premium Pete Show. If you want the scoop in the low, down low, listen to the show, cause Milk said so. Fuck what you heard, better act like you know. It's the Premium Pete Show.
Internets, welcome back to another episode of the Premium Pete Show. Finally sitting down with a good fella, okay? There's so many things you could call this guy. I mean, listen, overall guru, okay? And I don't mean only overall, okay? I'm talking about real overalls, okay? You
And
know,
a good fella, but not a gangster or Italian.
No.
But a good fella.
You a fan of Goodfellas, the movie?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Well, Internets, I'll give him another intro in a second, but PHAROAHE Monch is in the building. I remember one time you were saying, and rest in peace, our brother Combat Jack, Reggie, I remember you telling us, I think it could have been off air, on air, that like a lot of your music and songs that you made were, inspired by films.
Right.
You know, like what's some of the films that really, you grew
Well,
up
just
with?
that whole run with De Niro and casinos and that whole movement. Even Simon Says was kind of like, that guy was kind of like, get the fuck out. That's kind of like why I have that voice on that.
Yeah, like some Joe Pesci shit. Now that I think about it, I didn't even realize that shit. Now, it does sound like some Joe Pesci shit, like, or some Italian shit.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about, for people listening who know PHAROAHE Monch, even for people listening who don't, you grew up in Queens, right?
Yep, South Jamaica.
Mom and dad?
Yep.
Yeah. What did mom do?
Mom was a nurse. Pops worked for Pan America before the demise of the company.
Oh, is that the airline?
Pan Am.
What happened to Pan Am?
They chapter 11 or whatever the fuck they did and went under. He was crushed, He was a working man, so he just kind of retired after that.
You had a good relationship with Pops? Like, you would go places at young age in Queens and shit?
Yeah. And then later on, him and Prince Pole became boys and shit.
Really?
I'm like, they chill more than you chilling with Prince more than me. Like, I would come
Prince?
Yeah, Prince Paul.
Oh, Prince Paul.
Organized. And I would come to the house and Prince would already be there and shit, because that was like the hub. Same as y'all was just talking about Milk D off air. My crib was like the hub for the whole organized thing, and where a lot of the the thought process went down and the rehearsal went down. Like we wrote Fudge Pudge.
Sure. Classic.
Yeah.
Now you think about it. You're a young kid, right, in Queens. First of all, what was your first job? You remember that? Like,
yeah.
What was that?
I got a job at Alexander's. These just don't even exist no more.
You know what's so funny, man? Yo, it's funny because Benson, a videographer, he's looking like he don't even know what the fuck Alexander's is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess
it's crazy.
Look, first of all, who the fuck thought you would be here this long, right? That's first of all. We haven't even got to you starting to rap or starting to pursue your passion. You think about it, who the fuck, like, not everybody, and I say this, I've sat down with a lot of people over the years, with Combat myself, who'd ever thought, I don't know, 30 years later, right?
Right.
How many years are you in?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to think that you're still doing this, still touring, still making music, people still listen and care. I mean, that's got to be a special feeling.
Yeah, but if I honestly think back to the beginning, that was the thought process, and it's not for everybody, and that's cool too. If you like, yo, I'm gonna bang this shit out for a couple of summers and then transition, that's fine too. But just the cloth and the elk that I'm from, like the digging for the samples, had me always like, why are these records still relevant 15, 20 years later, that was sampling in the 70s and the 80s, and '69 and these old jazz records or whatever, and what makes them that way. And then on the rock shit too, you know, I was seeing a lot of my guys that I had been in the business for a long time that I was fans of still touring. So I looked at the shit long term from the beginning.
So you're working at Alexander's.
Alexander's.
Yeah. And then after that, you just like, did you decide like you wanted to like, because, you know, it's funny you say that too about like, you didn't want to like to get in real quick. I remember growing up when people wanted to rap, like it was just like a chance to get out of the hood,
right.
A chance to, you know, I mean, you hope to make something out of it, but a lot of people were just looking for a chance to, you know, make some money. And plus, you know, back then without social media, we still lived in a flashy world, man. You know, where people just saw hip hop as a flash. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, yo, I want to be like that. Just think about like growing up. I remember like I always say this, like I grew up in Coney Island, and then I grew up in Bensonhurst, so I grew up in best of both worlds. I remember seeing D-boys, B-boys, you know, give me a chance to see all that. And then I remember seeing like guys pull up in Cadillacs and people taking their coats off. And I was like, what the? So, you know, I think at that age, people, I don't know if people saw themselves in there for 30 years from now, but it was like inspiring to want to be an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the word artist, that's the key. Like, as far back as 3rd or 4th grade, deep inside me, you know, in terms of that structure of what I was being taught, even back then, I was like, this is bullshit. Like, I had a different idea of what this was going to be. 1st grade,
sure.
Like, in my mind, I was like, okay, and then they teach you how to levitate, and then you move shit with your mind, and then you learn how to fucking, and I was just like, what is this? So even by 4th grade, I was like, this is whack, man. Like, but I get it, and I get learning under this construct, and some of it was fun, and I aced classes. But in grade school, I was already drawing, so I knew it was an art path this way or art path that way.
Sure.
When hip hop, you know, when like you said, when it culturally exploded. And I got to see the Bubble Gooses and Adidas, and now I'm in school drawing characters. It just culturally fucked me up totally, and I was like, there's no other place to be to express.
You arrived.
What I'm feeling right now.
Did you remember the first song you ever listened to that caught you?
I heard a lot, but I think it was the King Tim III joint that fucked me up, and then the Tila Rock joint where I was just like, this dude is putting his shit together on a whole nother level.
Like a scientist.
Yeah.
That's classic, man. Look, so Pops and Mom, you know, growing up, when you wanted to be an artist, or like, how did you get introduced to, you know, I want people to understand of like how you even started to make music. Pops wanted you to do something else, or Moms wanted you to do something else. Did they like support what you were doing?
Yeah, I tell this story like after I was just engulfed and just amazed by what was happening culturally. You gotta understand at the time, Fable was in art and design. He was a couple grades ahead of me. Like, it was the dudes. Like, Rocksteady was coming up to, like, it was that shit. So, you know, it took about a year or two before I was like, this is what I want to do, and started working at the craft. And then when I went to them in a very stern manner and looked them, you know, sat them both down and was like, this is what I want to do. This is as I'm supposed to be going into Parsons School of Design or whatever the cool art college was in New York. And I could tell my pops saw something in my eyes that was like, he's pretty serious. And he still said, all right, you got a year, you know, to be professional with this, and then that's it. I'll give you a year. So I had a time limit on that shit. And
did that weigh on you on your head?
Nah, we got busy. I was like, we got this. Like, I see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, first demos me and Prince recorded, I was able to listen to, Prince was already an MC, I was just,
sure.
I was able to listen back to my shit and be like, this shit is just totally garbage, It wasn't what I was hearing in the parks from the crews. It just wasn't good. But I was happy that I was able to see that it didn't match up to where I wanted it to be. So I knew I had work to do at my craft and was eager to do it. So it was, we had that hunger, that fervor. I was like, we could get at what I'm hearing on the radio right now, and that's when you make a choice to jump in 100%, whether it's film or whatever it is. When you're like, what I'm drawing or what I'm writing or how I sound or my film ideas, I think at this time match what I'm seeing professionally, then you gotta jump in. And I was just like, I could do better than some of this shit I'm hearing on the radio, So they are, and Prince talks about this as well. They were super instrumental in us taking that step because I got their acknowledgement and anointing, and that, the place was kind of like the hub for us to every day work at it.
Sure. Now, so a year later, did Pops ever come back to you? He know exact what date it was?
We got a deal that summer.
I know that, but I'm saying, did he come back to you, and say anything when that happened?
Yeah, I would say rhymes to him. He was listening to, my Pops would say like, we would be working on something and he would be like, what's this song? They used to jam in the center. You had to pay so you could enter. And I would be like, my Pops is listening to MC Shan. Like,
Queen's Own?
My mom's too. Like, it was like, we lived around the corner from 40 Projects.
Sure.
It was, just like y'all was saying earlier, it was like the height of crack shit. Every car was bumping hip hop, like with the extra systems. It was park jams around the corner. You couldn't avoid hip hop culturally in the center of Southside Jamaica Queens. So my mom's knew songs, and my moms would be like, that last one I heard y'all do was kind of fly shit. So
that has to be a good feeling, especially some mom and pops are stricter than others, but just to explain to them something they don't really know, that how you could be make money or be a professional at, and then believe it and then see it. I love those stories. Like, there's a lot of people who that told their moms like, I want to be this, and they could have done, like you said, you could have went to Parsons, you could have went all these other places, but then turned around and showed success in that. That's something powerful.
I had some drawback from my uncle, who felt like I was forsaking my real gift. But even at that young age, I'm like, it's the same shit, man.
That's a different art form, You still draw?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just all different characters. I know you're into comics and...
Yeah. I doodle, but I don't concentrate my efforts to get what's out of my head in that way anymore. It's just, 100 different 4-bar pieces of rhymes in my phone right now.
But do you write? I forgot who was telling me, man. I'm trying to think, but because everyone, obviously, every artist is different. Some people, write in books, or some people write, do it, freestyle. Some people don't write shit down. Some people write on their phone at the time and then just spit a verse. Like, how did you just do a rhyme book and start writing verses? I forgot who told me. Somebody told me. Where did I hear this? Like you hold on. You got verses for days or whatever. You just like do a verse, and like you stockpiled a bunch of.
I did. Yeah. In the beginning, I thought it was essential. Plus, battling back was different. It's not like, So I just had like 80. 24-bar joints ready for a cipher, you know what I mean? And then I went through this phase where I would I would have the topic and I would write the ABCs on the top of the page to flip each word in each piece. And one time I was out in LA, I was in a session with Dre, I was working on something. He seen that on my paper and he told me that DOC does the same thing. And I was like, oh shit, But that was a phase.
You ever think of when you stockpile shit like that? I used to tell Sean Price this, rest in peace, man. But and I'm glad he did do that because Bernadette was able to do a lot. But like for a rapper, for an artist, like that's their 401k. Mm-hmm. Like when you make enough music that like, if you ever, moved on in life, mm-hmm. that like your family or people could like, make these albums or just they could live on and you ever think of like I don't want to say think of death because I had this talk. I don't want to start. I feel like I'm name dropping, but I've had these conversations with Just Blaze, and I remember him saying like, "Yo, talk about it because you will die." And it's almost like thinking about making a will. Like for a while, I was like, "Yo, I don't ever want to make a will because that means you're thinking of dying." Mm-hmm. And motherfucker was like, "Yeah, but you will." And I don't know if you ever think like that, like where like music, having songs and stuff or projects is like a 401k, like just I mean like it's
definitely, like it's the fucking, all the music that I've amassed now is the check.
Yeah.
I just got.
Check one now, check one later.
I just got the Internal Affairs album reverted back, and when you look at
legendary
the analytics on all that shit, and you look at all the records, man, it's just like it's crazy when I don't just cash the check. I actually like open the paper and publishing wise and see what's still being played and things of that nature. So yeah, it's important for that as well as I think about death in the sense that true creatives, they always have massive ideas. Like I'm an idea machine, not just, I'm like, if they shape the sneaker like this and line it with the silicone, with the springs and, all the time in drawing this shit. And I got a co-founder right now for an invention that we just got patented. So I mean that
Congrats.
Literally. So with the new project, I'm like, I gotta get this shit out, man. Anything can happen now. And it's been a fucked up last 5 years in terms of our peers and in terms of the vibrations in New York City and globally. So, mortality is...
You mean by passing away? Losing P, losing Sean Price.
Yes. And so, yeah, man, you're like, I want to get this shit done. So, when I'm going, they won't fuck up the arrangement the way I had it in my head.
They'll always remember you even more now. I just hate that we live in a world where sometimes people want to show love when someone's gone more than like they're here. And I feel like people keep on saying it, but but people don't always. I mean, I'm starting to see a shift a lot, but it shouldn't be like that. Like people scramble to find a picture with somebody, when they pass away. Like tell them beforehand. Like tell them today. Like if you're looking through your phone or if you're a fan of an artist, stop. Like I just feel that's the only thing that really bothers me sometimes about hip hop is sometimes it's too hard on the artist.
It's a cold culture.
Yeah.
I learned that a while back because I'm a fan.
Sure, absolutely, I know that.
I see artists I like, and I'm like,
yeah. But I think people feel the same way about you.
And I'm like, no, but you, and it's like, you know what I mean? And it shouldn't be that way because the greatness is still marginalized in a sense. Like, me and God say all the time, like, some of these dudes are really the Marvin Gaye's and Coltrane's of our time lyrically And like you said, you don't really examine that shit until they're gone, and you're reading back and you're listening back to these songs, and it's like, this dude was a fucking genius, bro. You know, like how Sean P, you know, I still listen to the songs and I still fucking gut laugh or just shake my head or find myself saying, this nigga said, you know, it's just like, that shit is crazy, you know?
Sean Price is a crazy motherfucker, man. But I'll tell you one thing, what fucks with my heart when I listen to the track he did with Night Wonder. It's like, all this love in my heart. Like, that song, that track is, you know, I mean, there's so many ones where he just like knocked the hat off your head, shut the fuck up. Like, he has so many fucking, you know, like, I love when he's like, you know, I shoot up. I forgot what he wrote. He said something like, I shoot up. You know, I mean, he was so witty. But at the same time, too, you know, it's funny that I'm sure over the years that you met a lot of your heroes or a lot of your rap heroes or even a lot of like other people you never thought that, you know, you would ever met in your life. But it's crazy too because you're also, and maybe some people don't fully know that, but I feel like you're very well respected. You know what I mean? Like by all these other people. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's why you were saying when you meet somebody, you're like you, and they're like, nah, you, like. Just your wittiness, you know, look, I was telling Guy, I was like, yo, I was listening to PTSD, man, you know, and what's that song I was telling you? Losing My Mind. I still listen to it. Like, I still, and we'll get into that, but the whole mental health and the mood feeling of it, like, and just making it like okay to like feel a certain way and not feel strange, you know, like that album. Yeah, that album was special, man. Yeah,
and I think again, man, you should delve into whatever you do as a piece of art. So then, when people go back to it, they have to get immersed in that emotion again, wherever you were, whether it's street shit, whatever it is. You know, you want to kind of like capture a moment or vibe or feeling. You know, those are the best pieces of art when it's in that time capsule, but still can stand the test of time. Like the Illmatic anniversary just passed, and you go back and listen to them songs, and if you have the moment, you can still close your eyes and be like, dun 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 dun, and you know, you're like, they caught something with that, and we all have the capability to catch something, but not in the same way. I feel with PTSD, it's like, yo, you have to commit to what it felt like to have suicidal thoughts in order to make this shit real, or else you're just throwing letters on a fucking record.
People come up to you, man, about that album?
Oh,
Thank you.
It was that run was heavy because I committed to doing like Broken Again at the live show, and it would, you know, this 4 solo albums of energetic, fucking, you know, straight bars. And then we would get to a break and a point where I'm singing that chorus and I'm doing that song, and I could see the emotional turn, or people who had purchased the album or were fans of PTSD, you know, you would hear, you know, woo, like they'd be, oh, this is the beginning of the song, he's going to do it. And then I could just see the emotion in people change and get in touch with themselves. And then the amount of people that would wait, you know, backstage that would say to me, you know, I'm 3 years sober, or, you know, dealing with my shit now. I can't even formulate the words to what that shit is like. And like the promoters would be like, you have to, it's like a line of people, like, you have to interact with these people. Like, I know this dude personally, you might have saved his life with this album. That shit's crazy, you know. But I know that like expressing yourself in that manner, there's tons of millions of people who have done records like that, but you know that somebody is going to resonate with someone, sure. So that's why you do it, you know.
That shit was powerful, man. You know, you mentioned Nas. Like, it's funny that you mentioned 25 years, man. Motherfucker. And it's funny how you mentioned that. Did you go to his what they have, like a celebration for his 25th year
for the album?
Yeah.
Nah, I didn't go.
But you know, it's funny when I think back. I remember you saying a while back that you were at the video shoot that Ralph did. We actually had Ralph on. He was talking about it recently, and it getting shot up. You remember? Mm-hmm. Remember that?
I remember that because it was at one point I was like, nah, is he just biting off the Rakim shit, and this is people shooting up shit to get the shoot up story and the shoot up shit on some hip hop shit. But that particular incident, something popped off and they were looking for somebody, and that's the first time I saw gunfire inside of a spot. I've seen many shootouts, but I was like seeing the flame come out of the gun. And I remember one of the shooters ran over I was over in the corner with OC and his wife. And I was like, he ran towards us with the gun aimed. And I thought to myself, whatever you do, don't dodge or duck or hide under shit. Just stay right here so he can see that you're not the motherfucker that he's looking for.
Sure.
And I was like, it ain't me, B. And he was just like, you know, I was like, this is some grimy ass shit. And then when we were able to run out of the club, you know, the cops were there by then, and they had all their guns drawn. So me and OC and his wife exited, and they made us like lay flat on the ground. It was a wild night.
But who would think 25 years later, Illmatic, man?
Yeah, I gotta have somebody shoot up the new album release party, guy.
We gotta do that one.
Yeah,
now there's so many.
Shit.
We'll bounce around, but there's so many different. Like, that's one thing I love about your journey. It's like so many different things. Like, you know, nasty on the mic, but heartfelt on some of songs like that touch people. Like we said, PTSD. And you think about even like something like "Oh No," you know, and rest in peace, Nate Dogg. Man, I'll be honest with you, man. You get to some episodes. When you start talking to them, everything is rest in peace. Like rest. You know. It's crazy. But how did that even happen? Because I remember, like, you know, I remember hearing you on that, and I'm like, I forgot what you said. What was the fucking thing you said, man? God, man, you were like, go against like PHAROAHE Monch. What'd you say? Like one line in there was insane, man. I think I actually hold on.
Fuck, what is it?
I think I wrote it down because that's the shit that I remember hearing that shit on the radio, and I was like,
very contagious rap, should be trapped in cages, stages, whatever.
No, I think it was Hallelujah. That's
okay.
What Hallelujah, PHAROAHE Monch. Yeah.
I mean,
do you maintain the same frame of mind? Screw you. Yo, but when I heard that, I remember, like, you know, first of all, the hook was insane. And then hearing you, I was like how did that track come together?
That shit was like organic / insider fucking label fuckery / me and Moses cool /
have you ever met
insider
Nate at
label
that time?
fuckery. I think, you know, the label definitely was like, you guys got to do a song, and so they kind of orchestrated the beginning of it, and stepped to Rockwilder, who fucking worked on Organized Confusion shit before Rock was Rock Wilder. And they played a couple of beats, and I was like, this one is, you know, it's fire. And so Mos called me, was like, yo, let me spit you my rhyme and shit. And I was
over
like,
the phone?
Yeah. I just was like, oh, we got another one.
and then you wait your verse
I did.
down?
I'm a slow writer, man. I probably was like, yeah, that's just dope, and probably didn't write for another 2 weeks or something.
The label bothering you?
Yeah. But it was dope because it flew me out to L.A. and I got to hear the Nate Dogg shit, and you know, you hear him saying and all, and you're like, oh, this lovely, heartfelt voice. And they went to write him a check, and Nate was like, nah, dog, straight cash. Straight cash. It was like a Saturday or some shit. And he made them go to the fucking pull out money from all sorts of places, and they had fucking family wiring money to pay Nate Dogg to do the chorus.
Yo, you should have asked for cash too. Yo, man, yo, Mos Def is man. That dude is so talented, man. You know,
Incredible.
It's. When's the first time you ever met Mos? Or y'all seen?
Yeah.
What's he going by now? What I have to call him? The Nasty Mos Def.
Not too long after I started doing solo music.
Yeah.
I was just, you know, going around the city to see who and what was, you know, just in popping. Like, just as a fan, I'm like, it's got to be new shit. Like,
Sure.
It's got to be new dudes. Like, what's going on right now? Who is supposed to be the new and coming, up and coming artist? And my man Complex was like, yo, you got to see these kids. Talib and Mos. Talib has a bookstore and shit. And we just drove out to the bookstore to see them rock. It was like about 25 people in a closed-in space. And within that small little space, I was able to be like, holy shit, like, these two dudes are insane. Just from a cloth even older than, like, it was like Cold Crush / De La. Like, they were doing routines in a bookstore, and I was like, this is fucking incredible. And so that's my first time meeting them.
Man, were they wearing suits?
Nah.
Well, Talib did. That Black Star run was, he would always stay with a fedora and a suit. Talib. It's classic, man. You know, I don't know if I ever heard you say this, but I'm sure somewhere you have. But PHAROAHE Monch, like, where does that even come from?
Well, just on some early hip hop shit, I wanted to be on some King Tim the Third, or what's your fucking prefix gonna be to your name? So, so I had already had the Monch shit from high school, which is the story of me getting a really fucked up haircut the week before school. I was a class clown, you know, and my head was fucked up. The line was fucked up. Everything was fucked up about the haircut. And the hat on the hat. Teacher tells me to pull the hat off. And one of the chicks I used to always snap on, she looks, she sees my hair, and she just starts ranking on me, and then she calls me, she says, I look like a Manchi Chi, and even the teacher was laughing. And then she starts singing the song to the cartoon. And the class just erupted, and like I was the butt of the joke, and it was nothing I could do. So I just was like, okay, I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna run with the Manchi Chi shit for a while, like it, and I started tagging it, and I kept it. The PHAROAHE was later just to try and kind of cover it up and make it fresh when it was something that wasn't.
Hey, listen, it sounds dope. You lived up to it. You still living up to it. Was there names before that? Did you have anything before that?
Nah, just the human mailbox, because I was 80 pounds heavier and I used to beatbox.
Could you could you think of the human mailbox like Mos Def and Nate Dogg? I mean, you still would have came with the fire, but the name would have just been a little bit different. Sounds like a wrestler.
Yeah,
you know?
Everything, man, everything's not fresh, man. Like the whole Simply Too Positive shit before we were Organized Confusion, and Russell being like, that is the fucking worst name for a group I've ever heard.
Organized Confusion.
So Russell Simmons was able to make us change from Simply Too Positive to Organized Confusion.
Oh, okay, so he didn't like Simply Too Positive.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was like, what the fuck is that? We was like, you know, STP, like the oil. He was like, so?
Yo, it's funny that Pharaoh says that because I could see him wearing one of those like mechanic joints with the STP.
We had it all planned out, but
hey, listen.
He was like, I'm not signing a fucking group name Simply Too Positive.
So then once he changed it, then he brought it on?
The story goes, Barbito had the demo. Mm-hmm. He passed on Nas, and he passed on us. And then, like, I swear to you, like a week prior to us going to L.A. to sign out there with Dave Funkin' Klein and Hollywood Basic and all that shit, he came back with an offer, but it was dumb low. And we was like, "Fuck you, Russell."
Hey, listen, man. Shouts to Russell, man. He's doing a bunch of yoga right now, and you know, I'll tell you one thing. It is hard to, you know, I know even the other stuff he's going through, and you know, blessings him, but you know, it's hard to talk about hip hop and Russell's name not come up.
Genius.
You know, yeah. You think about like, you know, all the pieces of puzzles he put together, man. You know, like I had Bill Adler on here a long time ago, and you know, he was a publicist and you know, PR. Yeah, I mean, this is stories of Def Jam. You just. I mean, Rush Management and just so much more. You know what? Let's take a quick break. Internets, we're sitting here with the one and only PHAROAHE Monch, my guy. He's a good fella. He's not Italian, but he's a good fella. Be right back. Cheer.
Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Curtis Blow. You know me. Hey, I want you all to check out this incredible, awesome, one-of-a-kind show called The Premium Pete Show. You are now listening to the sounds of the brother 24/7 representing that real stuff right here in the place to be. Tell somebody, you heard?
Internets, and we're back sitting here with my guy, PHAROAHE Monch. Yo, didn't you want to make like, I remember a long time ago you said you wanted to make like a disco rock album?
Yep.
What's up with that?
Yeah, man.
No? Is it going to happen?
Oh, man. Yeah, man. How can I say this? So we're almost done with the project, and it's just super, super aggressive and dark and edgy, and Guy and everybody else is like, stop saying rock. Because rock for these dudes over here might mean fucking Blink 182. I don't know the fuck. But for me, it means the most illmatic fucking dope shit from the same shit we used to sample. So, yeah. That's all I could really say about it because I can't drop it's a band, but it's the album of the year.
Yeah.
This shit is better than Thriller. It's better than fucking Stairway to Heaven. It's better than Purple Rain. This shit is the best album I've ever heard.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And when the people can hear it?
We almost done.
Okay. Well, listen, like I said, PTSD, man. I mean, that album, one thing I think was important about it is how you touch on mental health. And I love the world that we're shaping into today. You're ahead of the game on having that conversation in the space, right? I remember you talking about healthcare,
right?
And I think maybe you were saying that you were doing shows and paying for healthcare, like some of it, using some of your money. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because sometimes there's a lot of us. Like, you know, I'm for years being a freelancer. I didn't have no healthcare,
right? And
it almost becomes a choice. Like, do I pay for my rent or do I pay for my health care? You know, and it's
what's old girl's name? Ocasio. Yeah, she was just like a year and a half ago. I didn't have any fucking health care. You know, all from all walks of the planet. It was just an ill situation, and we were trying to navigate through how to do it through the Actors Guild or whatever the fuck you can find. How do you do this shit? Because at one point I was paying like $600. Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck, man? This is.
And you had asthma, right? You had bad asthma, right?
But then you go 9 months. Anyway.
No.
And you're not, you good. You're like, yo, man, I could have used that bread to
maybe I didn't need this.
to get this fucking this feature and shit.
You know who said it right? Again, and was Just Blaze. I remember him saying he went to the hospital, and he's had a couple of issues over the years where he ended up in the hospital. And I think he was telling me like health insurance and other things are. It's like you have them because if you don't know when they're important unless you don't have them. Because I remember he went to the hospital. The hospital bill was like $175,000.
That's happened to me.
But he only paid, because he had health insurance, right. He only paid like $2,000.
Right.
Like you know what I mean. So you think about like
over the course of all of these years in New York City, like I've been hospitalized, and like they're saying, you look at the way shit is itemized, like a Tylenol in the emergency room is like fucking $25.
Yeah.
And shit. So I've been in hospitalized for weeks, and that shit is, and this is like years ago. I don't know what they would do to people now, and I, essentially I would be like, what the fuck, man? Like how, what? How long do you continue to fucking pay on a fucking bill this way when you don't have insurance and what have you? So
yeah, you think about even like how the paperwork is set up. I remember being in a hospital. This is crazy, but I remember being in an emergency room when my lady was about to give birth, and we were rolling her in there. Yo, there was some guy, I swear to God, he came in, he had a fucking pipe in his head. And they were like, yo, you got an insurance? And they were making him fill out a card. Not a card, a fucking... the thing with the fucking metal piece that holds the paper. I was like, yo, I literally said, yo, somebody better get this guy in the fucking... He's bleeding out his head. Yeah. Motherfuckers wanted him to write down if he, male or female, his date of birth. Motherfucker, find that out later. Like, it's crazy, but I remember how much PTSD, the album.
Being in emergency rooms all my life fucking gave me PTSD in itself. Like you said, I would just be in an emergency room and dudes would be like, I got shot in the forehead, and, just rolling on, like, what wasn't in the emergency room in Brooklyn and South Jamaica Queens. Jamaica Hospital was the gun unit, the surgery unit for all 5 boroughs for police officers. So any gun trauma and that shit, they're like rushing people from halfway across the city because that's one of the #1 bullet surgery places. So in those stints over my lifetime, like, I've seen the wildest shit just being in the emergency room. Like, gun shit trickling into the emergency room from being on the street, and dudes being like, where'd they take the motherfucker? Jamaica. Like, dudes coming into the emergency room like, where the fuck is he at? I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Like, how are you in the emergency room with guns? So...
Yo, it's such a different time in day, man, when you think about what it was. Yo, so as we continue to go over the journey, man, one of the greatest stories, or even songs, like, there's so many. It's crazy of how many different levels you took music. You know what I mean? Everything from, back in the day to
one more.
Group, yeah.
I got one more.
Yeah. Oh, one more album? No, you got more. Well, you
the
can
new
still,
shit?
Yeah.
That shit is crazy.
I gotta hear this shit.
You know how rappers or artists, they say, you're expecting artists to say, this shit is my best record.
Yeah, my best work, yeah.
This shit is the best record. It's that fire.
I look forward to hearing it.
I'm a humble dude, you know me.
Yeah, no, of course. So Simon Says, right? How did that even come up? Like, what's the story on that? Because I know that. Yeah. Think about how big that song was.
So, after fucking with Talib and Mos a couple of times in the bookstore and just coming through and, yo, we gonna be here and we doing this show there, and I'm starting to work on music, because I wanted to get a vibe of what the shit was. I just didn't want to start working on music in the old frame of mind. I wanted to get a sense of what the vibe was in the city, whatever, firsthand. So I was taking in shows and driving to different shit when shows were out and seeing what new artists were doing. And Kweli recommended to me that I might want to check out Rawkus. They drop a lot of singles, indie-ish record company that would be into what I do. And that's how I got, I went to check them out. I played them a couple of things, and that's how I got involved with Rawkus. And then, that summer, again, I was listening to what's on the radio, and I was just like, it was a dope year. Where Rawkus was taking it with the way they were releasing a lot of, so to speak, mixtapes and compilations with Lyricist Lounge and Sound Bombing and things like that, with Eminem and, all these amazing MCs on the shit. But then it was a different vibe going on at radio. And so I challenged myself to, be a little different, come with a different energy. And I just remember telling the dudes at the label, like, I could deliver records to you that can compete with what I'm hearing. They won't be shiny, but the energy of it to be able to compete. Like, I had a couple of things in mind already. So I asked them in return, if I deliver these records, I need you to deliver these records. Like, if I go there with the records, I need you to go there, like.
Sure.
Right. So, about 2 weeks later, a friend of mine, one of my best friends, we just went to the Mets game yesterday, saw them slaughter Philly, and he was a movie head as well, into monster films, Kong, Godzilla, Gamera, all the whole monster movie shit. He bought the CD, the soundtrack, and he called me. He was like, yo, you might want to come down and listen to this shit. This shit is insane. So, the Godzilla sample is what Simon says is the Godzilla sample, but it was so much more shit on this CD, which he bought from Tower Records.
Rest in peace.
At the time. Rest in peace. And I just heard the intro and the 4 bars and just went home and put drums to it.
You write the hook already just from hearing it?
I just sat with it for a while, just letting it play like, dude, don't fuck this up.
Do you remember playing in the club? Like, do you remember seeing people's reactions to that song? Because that song charted for... I don't know, have all the analytics on the motherfucking thing, but that song was guy, top 40, top 100, Simon says?
At one point, it was in rotation on 79 stations out of 80-something stations that played hip-hop across the country. That's when I knew it had went.
Sure.
Right.
That it popped. You delivered something to them.
Right.
Were they happy with that record?
Sorry?
Were they happy with the record?
Oh, yeah. When everybody, headquarters, rest in peace, Primo's boy was working up at Rawkus, and he was kind of like the first one I played it for, and he was just like...
Yeah, that beat behind it.
So they heard it, and their first remark was, this chorus is going to offend females and whatever female fan base you have. And I was like, no, it's all fun, and, it's fun. It's hip-hop. It's like, they would know that, and they recommended that I, alter the titties.
Not the rub on your titties?
Yeah, it was a lot of things that happened with that album that they recommended that I change, and I was just like, isn't this Rawkus? Like, why the fuck do I got to change my lyrics?
Did you change? Did you?
Nah, I didn't change it.
Hey, listen, you guys, that's how you remain a true artist, you know.
Yeah.
You know, moving and touring, right? That you're still doing overseas. How long did you ever think? I know. You envision some of this, but it's gotta be amazing to think about a kid from Queens. Like you travel like internationally too for years already. Like when was the first time you were like where have you gone, like Prague and all these places? Like you ever thought about like
insane? And you know, I think the simple answer to the shit is, especially during these times when it was booming, that art isn't suppressed like it is in America, and it's kind of more artsy free, and so they gravitate to artists per se.
Sure.
Or at least they did, more than typical contrived machine shit that comes out. And so that's why artists were thriving overseas, just like jazz artists did when, they were like, what is this shit Miles is doing? Like, we don't understand. It's like, all right, I'll go to Paris.
Who? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you spoke about Rawkus with Simon Says, didn't Godzilla or whoever made the fucking movie, you didn't have a problem with the fucking sample?
Nah, man. But, they posed as a indie, but they had the power of a major.
Yeah.
They had a sample clearance department.
Why
it was
didn't they?
Like functioning.
Yeah.
Like I've always been on a functioning fucking
platform.
Right. Here is the fucking sample information, B. Do your job.
Yeah. Well, I guess they dropped the ball on that one.
They dropped the fucking ball terribly. And then had another chance to pick the ball up. When we got served, I was cutting grass in Queens, and some man comes up to me, Troy Jamerson? Yeah, that's me. Slides me the paper. I turn the lawnmower off and look at the shit. I'm like, oh shit. I'm being sued. Named in the lawsuit is myself, Priority, and Rawkus. But the shit was $14,000 or whatever. And I'm like, all right, no problem. They're like, we're not paying it. And then the next incarnation of the shit was fucking $375,000 or whatever crazy astronomical amount it was, before they were like, holy shit. Because what was happening was where the album was only at the time, 300,000 copies sold, which is unfucking heard of now.
Which is, yeah, it was even amazing.
Right. It was just getting licensed, so it was in so many films and so many fucking television shows and movies that, the people who own the sample was like, what the fuck, bro? The shit's in fucking 5 films right now, that summer.
Yo, why the fuck didn't they pay that $14,000 and get out of the way, man? What the fuck? Listen, you definitely considered one of the lyrical elite. And I know you're a very heartfelt person, but did that mumble rap did that ever bother you? You know what I mean? And I mean in the sense of where people say like real hip hop, right? And I think that always been the disconnect with like younger, artists. But there's a lot of older artists that are like, yo, I do me, you do you, and it's all love. Mm-hmm. How you felt about because you are considered one of the lyrical elite,
Right. Oh man, I don't know how I come off. I think about shit that I say, obviously, but I really didn't give a fuck, man. I don't really care. I think I hated snap music more than trap music. And it's a couple of things I do fuck with out of that genre. And then the way music is disseminated now, it's not really forced on me. It's there, but I don't fucking listen to the radio anyway. So
Sure.
I avoid the shit when it's annoying. Or if I go to hear somebody set and they playing too much of that shit for me, I'm like, yo, B, I'm out.
Yeah.
So I still gravitate to the shit that I like the fucking the T-shirt record by the brothers Migos.
Yeah.
You know, I just like the record, so I don't give a fuck about what people think. People be like, "You like that shit?" Yeah. And then there's some of their shit, I'd be like, "This shit is whatever." But they're the tightest at that shit to me. I think they body what they do with it. And then, just like any other thing, we were talking about immersing yourself in the craft of it. It's just a huge percentage of the shit that's just like, we're doing this because it's what is everybody's doing.
Sure.
And you hear the difference of it when you listen to it. And the same thing label-wise and culturally, when anything becomes popular and everybody starts going in that direction and everybody's not nice at the shit. Like the fucking, the lo-fi sample movement. I hear this shit all day, but everybody is not as nice as Marciano.
Rock.
At it. Yeah.
Oh my God, he's nasty. Who are you listening to when you say you don't listen to the radio? But who has been who is songs that Pharoah listens to?
Right now, I'm listening to Your Old Droog.
Really?
Yep. Makhami. I'm listening to the Kweli Chris album. So my head is kind of still, I don't even, is that even underground? I don't know. My head is kind of still there for vibe and whatever. I just skimmed through the Anderson, the new Anderson .Paak album. And just like going from song to song, I was like, this shit is already brilliant. I haven't lived with it yet, but it's just brilliant. Each song, every time I dropped on something, it embodied a thing, which is insane.
Kid's talented, man.
Yeah.
Kid's talented.
And a lot of jazz dudes too, like Marcus Strickland, Keon Harold, Chris Daddy Dave. So I've been in that world a lot too.
Yeah. Heavily inspired by jazz. Yo, did you ever meet Eminem?
Yeah.
Like where? Like a long time ago? Or?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, because the reason why I say that because you're one of those dudes, definitely that he respects. You know what I mean? Like M is always into his underground shit. It's crazy. I actually always see him wearing some old school shirts of, whether it be Black Moon or Audio 2 or Organized. Yeah, I seen him wearing that. So I'm saying that even without him wearing that, I know you're a person that he's definitely fucks with. Where'd that happen? Where'd you meet him?
Sorry?
8 Mile? You met him in Detroit?
In Detroit, yeah. It's dope that he does that too, man, because it's just like, it's just so many fucking genres and fans of shit that doesn't realize, the steps.
Sure.
And so even when he rocks the shirts, that shit does a lot for, I saw how he was rocking the Master Ace joint, how that shit resonates with, fans, and they go and they check for shit and they listen.
Sure. Sometimes you need, he basically gives some of the pieces of the puzzle for people who may not know, who's he inspired by or where he can. I love that he does that shit, Is there anyone, look, you came from Queens, like I said, could have went left, could have went right, you know what I mean, as far as being an artist, as drawing and then, get into music and travel the world. And was there ever a point where you were collaborating with somebody or did a song with somebody or were in a room where you know, have you met a lot of your, you know what I'm saying, like heroes, like
yeah,
you know,
definitely. I mean, it's still a lot to do. So as I try and contemplate on who those people would be, it also, you know, we were talking earlier, going back to what you were saying about mortality, it's like so much shit to do. Like every time, like I did a lot of the album at Premier Studio in Queens, and every time Premier would come in and we would be wrapping up, he'd look at me like, because we never worked together and shit. So, like, I'm like, I gotta do this shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so many ideas, hip hop wise and collaborative shit that I have personal friends that be like, yo, it's blasphemous that some of that shit hasn't gotten done yet.
Sure.
You know, so when you ask me a question like that, I think about like just outlandish 25-minute collaborative bars
Primo?
with people. You know, just different shit. Like I was talking to Keon Harrow, he's a trumpeter, about doing like one of those like Coltrane type, you know, records where it embodies this full spectrum, you know, at like 98 beats per minute and turns into something else. And just in those little spaces, it could just be 8 bars of bars. And then it takes off and goes somewhere again. Just completely out of the spectrum of...
Sounds like a movie.
Right. The arrangement of what we get right now. Because, you know, I know how to arrange a fucking, you know, song for consumption by the general public, but who gives a fuck? Like, I have that too. And if you really want that, you can go listen to fucking Simon Says. But let's take it, you know, in this part of the career, let's do some shit that's just like, who does that? And if you really got 20 minutes, which I know is impossible because the way our music is disseminated and we all don't have time, but like, why not? And the thing I love about the jazz dudes is they're like, when? Let's go to the studio, let's get it done. You know, they're not afraid at all. And these dudes are crossing the genres, which is what's dope about the Glasper, Keon, Strickland.
Didn't you do something with him? Didn't you win a Grammy with him?
Yeah, we Keon Harrow, Robert Glasper.
That dude's super
Harrow
talented.
Played the trumpet in the Miles Davis movie, so all the trumpet you hear being played in the film, that's him playing it. And then Don Cheadle, Guy, Robert, Keon came together to work on the song for the ending credits of the movie, and we wound up writing that song, and you know they won a Grammy for the album. So
no, congratulations!
Yeah. Thank you.
Did they send you one? Did you get it?
They didn't give me the fucking thing, but I got the
the plaque.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me where the fuck is another Grammy? Tell me we get a replica. You know what I mean? A retro or something. Don't have to be the. So we spoke about we spoke about the album, and when can Pharoahe Monch fans expect? I don't have to give a date, obviously, but when could they expect? Is this summer maybe?
I'm dropping music all summer, like crazy, out there shit, fire shit. Some collaborations with some of my favorite artists. Nothing from the album yet because the rollout for this album is gonna be.
Well, what have you come?
Like,
what have you?
Lasers. And
what's the name? What's the name? You have a name yet? Okay. Now you'll be touring, right? Overseas. Where else? Where in the States?
June 20th in Brooklyn for Summer Stage.
Summer Stage, June 20th in Brooklyn. Where else?
On something park.
It's all right. Yeah. Now, Pharoahe, was it on Twitter and Instagram? You fuck with Twitter still?
Yeah. I'm
right?
Pharoahe Monch on Twitter, and I'm Pharoahe Monch on Instagram. Pharoahe Monch on
Facebook.
I fuck with Instagram more because it's visual.
Yeah.
You know, you see it, shit. But I'm everywhere.
Yeah. People stay connected to you, find out where, you know, he'll be touring. When then, yeah. And that's where you're doing June 20th?
Yeah.
Okay. Shit. God damn! Oh, thank you, guy rotate, giving all the updates from the cut. You know, Prince. Oh my God, 20 years, man.
20 years.
Fuck.
Crazy.
Who the fuck would have thought this? You know, I really is Pops still around?
No, he passed.
Rest in peace. But I really enjoy, you know, when I think back of our conversation, right? I really enjoyed how happy and how involved he was. In the way you talk about your come up.
Yeah, man.
You know, that means a lot. Like I always preach.
Mother too, though.
Yeah.
Mom's now still.
Yeah, still.
Yeah.
Mom's in the studio.
Nah, but she, you know, we play the records. Like I still play the records, and you know, she still has an ear. Like some Puff shit will come on the TV, and she'd be like, "I don't like Puffy, man." Like she's wild.
Yo, before as we wind this episode down, have you ever performed somewhere that was like one of your craziest like places to perform? Like that was a memorable moment. I mean, I know it's hard to fucking answer because I'm sure you fucking.
It is. It's like almost impossible. From the mega shows with Rage Against the Machine and Rock the Bell shit, and you come out and it's fucking 75,000 people, and you're like, no fucking way that fucking people reach that far out. To fucking, you know, whatever. I remember one of my first shows with Boogie Blind. I know Boogie Blind was down there. We did a show at like Syracuse University in the like dome and shit. Like I'm like, man, this is where the Orange Men play, and it was like 3 people in all of that whole shit.
That's it.
Yeah, it was weird, man. The show was crazy. You can ask Boogie Blind, like, you know, whenever that happens, you know, any professional is like, all right, man, we got this big ass stage. We just got fucking paid rehearsal. You know what I mean? Let's go get busy. And a minimal amount of people that was there was still like, this is the best show I've ever seen.
Thank God there was no Instagram at that time.
Yeah,
There
was social. It was roped off, you know what I mean? But it was like, that shit was so bugged out. I'm like, who did this shit? Like, why? Yeah. Colleges, you know, they have the budget, so they just
put a show together.
Yeah.
You want to see? They don't care.
Well, I tell you, listen, you know, when you drop your album, once you come back up,
Please.
you know, we'll definitely promote the album. But most importantly, how's your health doing? Everything's okay with you?
Good, I can't complain. It's
better?
like with that shit in the weather change and the allergies, like they were saying today was a real bad pollen day. I just got to be extra on top of everything.
Yeah. And what about your mental state?
Good, man. I'm in a happy place.
Yeah.
I'm in a happy place. Let me just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. Internet, let me tell you something, okay? Stay connected to PHAROAHE Monch. If you know about Pharaoh, okay, I hope you learn a couple of things more. If you don't, stay connected to him. And I'll be honest with you, man, I'm very thankful for the music and just the way you brought attention to mental health, especially with PTSD, especially because it makes people realize, like, you know, that they're not alone.
Right.
And so that means a lot to me. And I've seen it, how much it means to other people,
right.
and what you've done. So you know that, you see that. We spoke about how much you have, you know, helped change people's lives. So I like that you continue to do you, not what say people like expect it to be. Well, Internet, listen, the one and only, my guy, PHAROAHE Monch.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Will.
Man.
Internets, if you enjoyed that episode, then hit me up. That's right, email me at thepremiumpeakshow@gmail.com. Again, that's thepremiumpeakshow@gmail.com. If you're an advertiser, any big company, small company, startup, whatever it is. You want to advertise on the Premium Peep Show? Hit me up. Email thepremiumpeepshow@gmail.com, and we'll get to working, okay? And if you have a suggestion or you want to hear a certain guest on the show, whatever it is, okay? You know, you could at Premium Pete Show on Twitter or Instagram, or for the last time I'll tell you, well, I'm not gonna. It's not the last time. Email me thepremiumpeepshow@gmail.com, and let's get to working. CHEA.